Tonight's meeting of the North Planning Committee. I'm Councillor Eddie Labour, the committee chairman. My apologies for our late start as the Majors meeting overran just very slightly. Can I do apologies for absence first, please?
Apologies from Councillor Flynn with Councillor Stead substituting, and apologies from Councillor Cattrall with Councillor Duncan substituting.
We might as well almost have continued on, actually. We've got almost the same members present. Any declarations of interest in the four items before us? Minutes of the meeting 20th of February in your bundle. Can I take those as agreed? Agreed. Thank you. There are no matters notified in advance or as urgent. We are taking the four items in part one that were in the published agenda. Okay, there is one petition item tonight that is in respect of 6 Edinburgh Close. Oh, 8 Edinburgh Close. I knew I had 8 and 6 in my head. I don't know what. 6 is the item number, I know. Okay. Apart from that, there are no petition items. I'll do the usual safety announcements. If the fire alarm goes, please. We're not expecting a drill, so we'll assume it's real. Best fire exit is over there behind us, and then through the doors in front of you and down the spiral staircase, or out the other exit behind us. Don't worry, but we will be going. I didn't do this announcement last time round, but it caught me out, so can I please ask that all mobile phones are at least switched off or to silent, and I hope they all are by now, particularly Councillor Higgins, who... I'm sorry, you did ask for that.
I did.
You did.
You didn't say about my music, though.
I wasn't going to pass any comment on your mobile phone choices. Okay, for all items... Okay... Concentrate. For all items, officers will make a presentation, which is in addition to the written paperwork members have already had, together with the slides that will be on the screen. For an item where there is a petition, and that is item 6, petitions have 5 minutes to address us. We work on traffic lights. You get 4 green, 1 amber, and when we get to red, you've had your 5. On the petition item, the applicant or their agent has a right to address us, as does a ward councillor, and as I see Councillor Hensley in the audience, I am presuming that that is his intention. Members may ask questions, they may not, but that is entirely up to them. The voting members of committee tonight, Councillor Stead, Councillor Duku, Councillor Graham, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Morgan, Councillor Oswald, Councillor Dillon, Councillor Duncan. Officer team tonight, Peter Loveday is doing highways, Matt Koloczewski, I got it right as well, is presenting. I think Mandit will assist if required, but he's basically sitting in the corner. James Roger, the head of planning officer's advice. Nisha Tedji is my clerk. Rasheen Hogan is the planning lawyer. There are orange feedback forms floating around in the audience. If you wish to fill them in, send Democratic Services. They're always gratefully received. Right. I will move then, please, to the first item on the agenda, 8 Edinburgh Close, which is on page 5 of your report. Matt, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chairman. The application seeks retrospective permission to vary a previous planning permission dated August 2016 to alter the window door on the rear side elevation and to increase in height the parapet walls to the front and rear of the site. The overall height of the parapet walls has increased from 2.7 metres to 3.2 to the front of the property, and from 2.6 metres to 3.3 metres to the rear. The original L-shaped bifold doors, which ran along the rear and return side, have been replaced with a single bifold door on the rear elevation and a single separate glazed door on the return side elevation. I'll just take members through the plans to show you exactly what I mean. There's a site, which would be usually highlighted in red. If I just take you, this is the previously approved permission. You will see it's a single-storey rear extension, that's L-shaped, and also a side extension that replaced what was a garage. If you look on the bottom right-hand side, you can actually see highlighted in grey where the extensions were approved. Now, what's actually been built is slightly different. In terms of the dimensions, the depth and the width is the same. What has actually changed is the bifold doors, first and foremost. I don't know if you can quite see them. They're here and here. So basically an L-shaped bifold doors. What they've done, these bifold doors have remained, and here it's been replaced by a single door. So if I just pop through to the proposed plans and put apologies, let me just find them. Yes, you can see here. So you've got the bifold doors where they were, but the return, instead of having bifold doors all the way along, has a single door. And also you can see from the plans, you had a flat roof extension. It still remains flat roof as built, but it has, as you can see here, these parapet walls running along both sides and here. So that has increased. At the rear, the extension at these points is 3.3 metres in height, and at the front it's 3.2. So those are the differences. I've got some photos, hopefully you can see. They're not, unfortunately, very good. This is a photo. You can see the parapet wall. It's number 10, Edinburgh Close, and this is the parapet wall. So in essence, they've got permission to go up to this point, and they've added the parapet. Yeah, I think it's probably about 5 or 6 brick courses. Yeah. Getting some more photos. Again, it's number 10 to show you the context of how much higher it is. And this is on the opposite side with number 6. You'll note that number 6 has an existing conservatory, and again, it's that element that they've added that wasn't in the previous consent. I'll take you through some more photos. The bifold doors that have been inserted, and you can actually see the return here, where whilst the door isn't in place yet, it's narrower than it was previously, and in our view would have less of an impact. And if I can, again, you can see the parapet wall running along there. There's also from the front, in fact, something I've negated to tell you. If you look, this is the extension. Number 10 has a 2-storey flat roofed rear extension. This dates back many years. Again, the extension projects minimally beyond number 10, and again, there's that parapet wall that didn't previously have consent, which they're trying to get consent for now. You'll also see in one of these, again, this is not a clear photo, but that's the conservatory at number 10, and you can see the parapet wall just running along there. So in essence, what we're looking at is the impact of that additional 20 centimetres over and above what was previously consented. You also, at the front of the property, have this oversized soffit feature, which has been signed off by an approved inspector. It's, again, whilst if you look closely at the top of the photo, you can see that the houses themselves at upper floor levels do have oversized soffits. So we feel that it does actually match the overall character of the house with these overhanging soffits. And the differences between the two approved extensions, between the approved extension and what has been built, is the provision of the parapet walls, as I just said, which have increased these elements, the extension from 2.6 to 3.3 metres in height at the rear, and from 2.7 to 3.2 at the front. This is only 10 and 20 centimetres above the 3.1 guideline height limit set out in HDAS. Visually, the impact is minimal. We feel that the refusal on this ground will be difficult to sustain that appeal. Again, with that front soffit, as I mentioned, we feel that because the main house has an overhanging soffit, that is in keeping with that element. In terms of the impact on the neighbours, again, what we're considering is the additional 20 centimetres height on top of the parapet, or on the parapet, and the impact of the changes to the bifold doors. It is considered there is no additional impact on number 10 Edinburgh Close, which is this one. This is owing to the 2-storey side rear extension that exists at this property. In terms of the impact on the other adjoining property, number 6 Edinburgh Close, which if I just flick through the photos once again, it is considered that the extra 20 centimetres of height, which is only marginally above the 3.1 recommended in the HDAS, this would not, given the existing single-storey rear conservatory at this property, have a significantly increased impact over and above the single-storey rear extension that was already permitted. The height restriction set out in HDAS is guidance to minimise the impact on neighbouring properties. In this instance, given that both existing adjoining properties have extensions, it is not considered that the additional 20 centimetres on the top of the parapet would have a detrimental impact on the amenities of either adjoining property. Going back to the bifold doors, if I can also just mention that the bifold doors previously went all the way across, now it's a single door. It follows that the impact of those doors is actually reduced, if anything, by what's been built. In any effect, we've actually added a condition or suggested a condition that on the boundary here, the developer or the owner of this house puts up a 2-metre high fence to prevent any opportunity of overlooking from that door on the return from this door. And that would have to be, I believe, put in within 3 months of any permission being granted. Again, that's just to negate any potential impact. If I just go on to the addendum, I think members were sent a letter of objection with some documents from, I believe it's number 10. Let me just get it. The objector raises a concern with a plan, but this plan does not show the bifold doors, but that's not the correct plan. It is not the plan that was approved. The plan that was approved is the one I showed you a little earlier that did have the bifold doors. Let me just go back. It's this plan again that shows the bifold doors in the sort of zigzag lines there. So that objection is actually misinformed. It's the incorrect plan, and there were bifold doors. Also, there is a letter there from Nick Hurd MP, which supports the objection from the neighbour. We've put that in the addendum as well. We hadn't received that earlier. For the reasons summarised, concerns raising. Oh yes, there's also a concern that, about the noise from the construction works. Now, whilst we have an informative on our permissions that explains what the usual hours of construction are, these are not actually planning considerations. We're not governed by planning legislation, so whilst it may have happened, we do understand that it's something that's covered by different legislation, and as you can see, the development has actually largely been completed anyway, so hopefully that won't be an issue in the future. For the reasons summarised, it is recommended that the application be approved. Thank you, Chairman.
And I think the only other change, there in the addendum, members, so you delete condition 1 because the thing is almost built. So
Yes.
Clearly they have well started it. I think they've nearly finished it. Okay, the petitioner, Mr. Scott Morton, if you'd like to come forward, if you press the button on the middle of the microphone, it will light up. And obviously, as a speaker, you will be on the council's YouTube channel, and what you say will be there for the record. When you're ready, if you just press the button, I'll see the microphone light up, and then we'll start timing. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this petition, supported by 91 signatures and the constituency MP, asks you to refuse the building owner's application, which attempts to justify his failure to build in accordance with the originally approved plans. The building owner has shown a clear disregard for the effect on the character of the neighbourhood, the impact on its residents, particularly the visual intrusion into Mr. Walker's private amenity space at number 6, and has ignored the council's conditions permitting the building of a large extension, including changing the design, building out of hours at weekends, and failing to provide a privacy screen originally along the boundary with number 6. The original application was approved in August 2016. However, the existence of differing plans, including those produced to support the Party Wall Award, and I believe you have copies of these, were brought to the attention of Head of Planning, who obtained an unqualified assurance from the property owner that he was building to the approved plans, something now proved to be disingenuous. Building started in June 2017, but with work camouflaged by the use of large boards shown on their photo montage, there was no indication that the wall structure would include a door facing and overlooking Mr. Walker's property. However, by October, it was clear that the extension was considerably over height. Our concerns were verified by a council inspector, who confirmed the excessive height and existence of an unauthorised door, and advised that the building owner would be required to submit a retrospective planning application. This application, provided in instalments over a 12-week period, might have been expected to provide some explanation for the failure to build in accordance with the approved plans. It doesn't. There is no mention of the overhanging lighting console at the front, or reason for the excessive parapet height, and you've got pictures of this. The location of the kitchen has changed from plan to plan and is arguably irrelevant, while the repositioning of the door to save money is not supported by any cost estimates. This lacks credibility. But, and I believe crucially, HDAS Para 4.7 states that no window or door should overlook a neighbouring property. To me, no means no. It's not the start point for negotiation. Conversation with the contractor, while accepting this is hearsay, indicated that the significant increase in height of the extension from the original 2.6 to 3.3 metres was to satisfy building regulations with regard to insulation. While compliance is clearly essential, the failure to include this at the initial design stage indicates inept planning by the architect. The contractor also advised that the additional 50 centimetre high parapet was to stop rainwater flooding over the boundary walls. This is nonsensical. The UK does not produce rainfall requiring a parapet of this height to prevent flooding on a flat roof, especially if adequate drainage has been provided. The parapet is overbearing on both boundaries and compromises security to our bedroom windows. Again, significantly, I believe, HDAS Para 3.9 does permit parapet walls which do not take the overall height over 3.1 metres, but only provided that the wall of the extension is set in from the side boundary by at least 25 centimetres. The set-in here is about 20 millimetres. In conclusion, we ask that you refuse the retrospective application. It does not match the original plans, it contravenes HDAS policies, and clearly indicates that there was no intention to seek approval from the Council for these changes. This not only shows disrespect for the Council's authority, but is contrary to HDAS Para 2.19, which require planning approval before any alterations to the original plan are made. This did not happen. We also ask that enforcement action is taken to ensure modifications are made to the extension to bring it back close to the original specifications. As a minimum, this would require removal of the door facing number 6 and closure of the opening, thus preserving the walker's private amenity space, which they strongly believe has been violated. A significant reduction in the height of the parapet to something less than 10 centimetres would also be required, and removal of the overhanging lighting console to the front. These are not major engineering tasks and could be done quickly. Your support for this petition will reassure residents that you do listen to and care about their concerns. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to take any questions.
Nope. No questions from members. Thank you. Is there anyone here on behalf of the agent or the applicant? No one's sticking their hand up. Councillor Hensley, do you wish to?
We've already spoken outside, I've resolved most of the issues.
Okay, thank you. In that case, I'll open it for debate. Councillor Higgins, please.
We sit on this committee a lot and we see a lot of things that are really concerning us. And I can appreciate that for some residents this is quite minute for us as a committee. I do have a problem with the soffit in the front. I think it's overdone. I just think it's not so much the size of it, it's just the way that the drainage has been done, and you would expect it to be a lot tidier than that. And is it really needed to be that deep as well? I'm not so sure. If you can see that the guttering coming down, it just looks horrible. It looks very ugly. On the roof, you could say we take a brick length off the top of it. In some ways, if it's a flat roof, then they're entitled to put guttering, which then hangs over other people's property. And there's loads of, it's quite a clever idea to keep the rain going back onto their own property. So I don't really have too much of an issue with that one. Could we vote against it on planning and uphold it? Not a chance. We would be overturned on this one. All I'd ask is that if someone can negotiate with the applicant to tidy up that soffit. But I'll hold that.
Yeah,
others may have some.
Councillor Morgan, Councillor Ducey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I agree with a lot of what Councillor Higgins has already said. When you look at the photograph from the bedroom window, looking across to number 6, I believe it is, if that parapet wall was reduced by a brick, by a layer, you'd actually see more of the conservatory that's out the back. And that conservatory has a glass roof. So, to me, it makes more sense to have that extra layer, so you're not actually seeing into their conservatory. Other than that, the plans that were originally passed, it had an L-shaped folding door. By having this way, it's just got a folding door on the back and a single door. I believe it's actually helping improve the privacy for number 6. So I go along with the officer's recommendations.
If I missed this, I apologise, but when it comes to that single door that's facing the other property, is there anything in here about frosted glass?
There wasn't anything on the original consent to make the bifold doors frosted, so therefore
Okay.
you'd have to argue that would be not very reasonable. Originally there was a bifold in there, so that would have just run straight round. So, Councillor Oswald, sorry, and then...
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it, when we have approved plans and then something's built outside of those plans. But sometimes, I don't know, I think it's probably about 0.5 of a metre, is it, over? Or almost 0.5 of a metre, so...
0.2, 0.3.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Councillor Morgan. I think the overlooking the conservatory. Can I just ask, is this in policy or is it out of compliance? It must be in policy, otherwise it wouldn't be for approval, would it?
If I can clarify, the HDAS is guidance.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
It's not actually policy. So what officers are saying is that there is a 10 centimetre deviation,
Okay.
but we don't think that's sufficiently material that we'd stand any chance at appeal. That's to put it in a bluntly.
Okay, thanks. Well, if that's the case, if it's been moved, I'm quite happy to second it.
Councillor Graham, did you want to add something?
Well, I was just going to say...
I don't know whether we could add an informative inviting the applicant to reduce the size of the soffit, which is, I think, as strong as we can get it. It's worth a try. Yeah, it's worth a try. But as you say, I don't think we would go anywhere on appeal. I'll ask for an opinion in a minute. I always float ideas and then wait to see where they go. I think that you may have just pushed your luck one too far. Right.
My colleague would like to speak, I believe.
Oh, sorry. I thought he changed his mind actually.
No, I have. I just think the soffit's disgusting.
Yeah, I thought you changed your mind about speaking. Yeah, I thought I got a second signal that said, "Nah, can't be doing this one." James, any guidance briefly before I move it?
Sorry, were you mentioning possibly informative?
Yeah.
I don't think informative is going to make any difference in this case.
Could we do a notwithstanding approved plans?
So can I add something?
I don't know how the planning act.
Through you, Chairman. So the trouble with the soffit is that, yeah, you can. Officers have argued that the soffit is already there on the existing building. I understand that, but that runs around the whole of the roof. It runs from one side to the other. It doesn't have this gap where the wall is, does it? It's on the main building. So either we can ask for that to be removed and... Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Okay, I think
the
head of planning has a possible way.
There's a bit of information we haven't yet shared with you as officers. So myself and Matt spoke to our building control team because we were both a bit puzzled as to why that approach had been taken. And our building control team quickly pointed out it was allowed by approved inspectors rather than through Hillingdon Building Control. But then what they also said is they can themselves quite understand. They did wonder whether it was something to do with some kind of electrics being put in it to do. There's a very small white light you may see. The difficulty with the point the petitioner raised on lighting is normally under permitted development. You can do small security lights without planning. So that's a slight red herring in terms of something we'd be able to refuse planning permission for. But because our building control team have told us they don't see any reason why it needs to be such a deep soffit, I guess you could perhaps consider, notwithstanding the submitted plans condition, within 3 months a reduced soffit detail has to be provided, because we've already got condition 5 that's saying within 3 months we have to have the boundary fence that was meant to be provided in the first place put in place. So you could seek a condition, and I say the one advantage I've got this evening, which I won't always have, is we've actually spoken to building control. So I think it could be possible.
If we delegated that to the head of planning to amend, I don't think there's much more we can do with it, because the bifold door was on the original, so a bifold door is a door, and the extra height we're going to struggle to do a lot with. So the soffit, I think, is about as good as it's going to get. So on that basis, there was a proposer, Councillor Oswald. Councillor Ducey, were you proposing? Councillor Oswald seconded. All those in favour, subject to the change we've just gone through. That was unanimously approved. Thank you very much. I move to Ruislip Telephone Exchange, High Street, Ruislip. This is something to do with telephone masts, I'm pretty sure. It is telephone masts. Of course it's telephone masts. Because it used to be a telephone exchange many years ago. Probably in your lifetime, I think, Councillor Higgins. There may be. Oh, a bad signal. Right, Matt, do we want a presentation on this one?
I'm not bothered.
Right. In that case, somebody propose me?
Well, I'll propose it.
So, all those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you. Yeah, that one. The next one is a canopy and side screen over a car wash retrospective.
Leave this one to the Norwich Road.
Now, there's no opting out on this tonight. Right, Matt, please. Yeah, we do. You're going to have to do this one.
Thank you, Chairman. The proposal seeks retrospective plan permission for the installation of a canopy and side screen over an existing car wash area. Let me just take you through the plans. There's a site there, as you can see. Another plan. So what you've got, the canopy you can see here of the existing site. So an aerial, again, photos aren't as clear as they could be.
By the way, the photos tonight is not the officer's fault. This is the projector issues.
You can actually see the canopy here, and the screen, which is down the side. And that's the frame as it's being installed. And again, a part of the frame for the canopy. You could, in theory, see it, but you can't. The application site is located on the east side of Station Approach, set behind the row of commercial retail units fronting Station Approach. To the west is Northwood Station and railway lines. To the south is the car park, and to the east is a public footpath leading to Green Lane to the north. The site is enclosed and screened from the footpath by 2-metre high timber fence. The site is located within a small pocket of light industrial and commercial units. The site is discreetly located within the Northwood Town Centre Green Lane Conservation Area. The canopy, whilst industrial in appearance, is attached to a late Victorian Edwardian industrial building and is not therefore considered to be inappropriate in its location. The structure is also located to the rear of the property and would have little impact on the character or appearance of the wider conservation area. Given the position of the site and the size and scale of the monopitched roof canopy, which is set well below the main pitch roof, it would not cause an adverse impact on the neighbour's amenity. As such, there will be no loss of outlook, no loss of privacy or light, nor any overshadowing or visual intrusion. For the reasons summarised, it is recommended that the application be approved.
I would also note that no objections or comments have been received, which in Northwood probably says it all. All right, Wimble. Councillor Higgins.
Sorry, Matt. I was with you in the beginning. It was like, it's not very good because it's attached to a Victorian thing, and then we get to that it's okay.
No, he's saying it's attached to an Victorian warehouse building.
It's not in. Oh, sorry.
Not
I thought you said
inappropriate.
it's appropriate.
No.
Anyway, okay, I'll go with officer's recommendation.
Councillor Dillon, do you have a question?
Does it present any highways issues?
I don't think so.
Right.
Makes me feel like.
Thank you for that. All those in favour, please clearly show. Thank you, that one's approved. Right, I move to item 968 Norwich Road Northwood, which is a single extension on a property. Now it's your chance.
Thank you, Chairman. The proposal involves the erection of a single-storey flat roof side extension which would be attached to the south-western elevation of the dwelling which faces onto Rochester Road. The extension would also attach to an existing single-storey flat roof rear extension. So I'll just show members on this plan. So we have the property there. You have a single-storey rear extension that is wider than the existing house, and then we'll have a single-storey rear extension that will infill that gap. If I actually have a better plan. So yes, here we go. So you've got the house, the original house here, and a single-storey rear extension that was approved, I believe, a year ago, and they want to now put a single-storey side extension in this gap, essentially here. The site is a corner plot at the junction of Norwich and Rochester Roads, two mainly suburban residential streets. The predominant forms of dwellings on both streets are semi-detached, two-storey buildings occupying fairly uniform-sized plots with relatively small gaps between buildings. In terms of the history of the site, it's quite important. A pitched roof single-storey side and rear extension was constructed on the site in 2015, despite planning permission being refused for the very extensions that same year, and it was subsequently dismissed at appeal. The appeal inspector criticised the use of a pitched roof, resulting in an overwhelming feature that conflicted with the slope angles of the main dwelling roof, thereby appearing, in his words, cumbersome and out of proportion. Furthermore, the pitched roof of the extension resulted in the height of the extension being excessive, so much so that it covered part of a first floor window, resulting in increased visual impact that compromised the open nature of the junction between Norwich Road and Rochester Road. Now, if you can actually see on the photo where that pitched roof used to be, they actually built a single-storey rear extension here, and the pitched roof came over this rear bit. They now have permission for this rear bit, albeit as a flat roof, and now the proposal is to carry this forward in line with the house. And obviously we won't cover that top window anymore. I did have a photo on here. There we go. So that's how it looked before. So it was, as the inspector pointed out, it did not in any way tie up the existing main roof. And Oh.
That's it.
I've totally messed it up. Have I done?
Don't worry, I think
Okay. So following the enforcement notice being served, a revised application was submitted to retain the rear element of the extension with a flat roof, which is in situ at the moment. The proposed extension would not have the visual prominence of the refused pitched roof structure due to its lower height and the fact that, unlike the pitched roof extension, which had an awkward roof arrangement that contrasted strongly with that of the roof of the main dwelling, the proposed flat roof extension would not appear discordant and would therefore not be more visually intrusive. A similar flat roof side extension exists on the opposite side of the road. Whilst that extension is only the depth of the house, visually this and the proposed extension look very similar. I think there is a... How do I get back into it?
Don't worry.
It doesn't matter? Okay. It is therefore considered that the proposed extension would not, on balance, detract from the character and appearance of the surrounding area. For the reasons summarised, it is recommended that the application be approved.
Yeah, I'll just bring the head of planning in for 1 second.
Yeah, it's just a possible fourth condition members might want to think about as to whether you'd want a condition that withdraws permitted development to add any window openings or kind of roof lanterns or anything on this which could be justified given the corner plot location.
Dead.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's something about to do with that. I was just going to ask, how close would this be to the boundary? But if there's not going to be any opening windows, then I'm not really too bothered to want to know, really. That's what I was going to ask, because that sort of answered the question.
Okay, councillor,
Forget I said that.
councillor Stead.
It's on record.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to satisfy my own sort of curiosity, I suppose, we used to have a no to build an extension onto an extension. Is that still current?
That's when we're going out to the rear. In fact, it doesn't always apply either. We have done them where that has happened. That's normally where you're doing another rear extension on top of a rear extension already being built, not coming out to the side.
Second generation, isn't it?
Second generation, although I have seen one or two of those go through the system. Councillor Morgan, it's in your part of the world.
It is indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I know this particular site very well and was involved with the meeting when it came to enforcement. To clarify, it's actually directly opposite Hayden School, and the residence that Matt was talking about was number 70 Norwich Road. That's got the rear and side extensions. With the officer's recommendations, I've got no problems together with the amendments. I'm just surprised, being honest with you, that they hadn't gone for a two-storey side extension.
They haven't, so we'll take that. We'll take that as
it's directly onto a road.
yeah, we'll take that as proposing officer recommendations. Do I have a seconder, please? Oh, whoever. Take your pick. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. That one's approved. 5 to 8. Thank you very much.